Story 1. Dementia is very frightening both for the person experiencing it and for those around them. I hope a cure is found soon. Story 2. My children are missing. I cannot imagine a worse feeling than having no idea if they are alive, being trafficked, or tortured. At least if I had to watch them die, I would know. That is probably my second biggest fear. Story 3. Losing my loved ones, especially my children, before their time, closely followed by dying young myself and not being around for my family. Story 4. I will never be able to change how I think or process information. This makes me believe I am a terrible person who sometimes experiences self-actualization and reflection, but I am really good at masking how horrible I am. When people get close to me, I hurt them or push them away so they don't realize I have no real emotional depth or attachments and will likely never have genuine connections with anyone. I use people for what they can do for me. I realized this in middle school and lost lifelong schoolmates because of it. Honestly, I don't care. I chalk it up to just growing up. I'm almost 40 now. I discard people when they no longer serve a purpose. Sometimes I don't even realize I'm doing it. Other times, I plan how to sabotage relationships so people leave me. I don't mind playing the bad guy, and that's a serious issue. I am not a good person, and I'm not proud of who I am. I'm honestly scared I will never change, even with professional help. I have anxiety thinking about why I do things. Is it because I'm nice? No. Or do I want something from someone? Usually, yes. Therapists just teach you techniques to better mask your issues. I know because I have done that already twice. Therapists don't want to deal with narcissists because they know we can't change unless we want to, and most of us don't. We get through whatever mental challenges we have going on and then go right back to business as usual. Wolf in sheep's clothing. So I live with it, and I am having a hard time right now trying to accept that I won't ever be emotionally or mentally healthy enough to have a good, stable relationship or a happy life. Story 5. The degradation of society due to capitalism and greed. Our jobs being replaced by artificial intelligence and the environment deteriorating. Story 6. 1. Something bad happening to my children. Dying early and leaving my young children motherless. Whatever is happening in the United States right now. Story 7. Death is inevitable, but you do not know when it will happen, how it will happen, or what truly happens to you afterward. Story 8. Losing my ability to do things for myself. I have a family history of conditions that lead to this, so I check often and try to stay on top of it. Story 9. Becoming old and in the way. Useless, lonely, and regarded as nothing more than an annoyance by those who remain in my life. Outliving my loved ones, then dying isolated and unloved. Story 10. Not living authentically or freely, whether because of societal pressure, laws, anxiety, low self-esteem, manipulation, or other reasons. Losing a loved one to a slow, agonizing death, especially my fiancé. I am very sensitive, and I cannot handle seeing someone I love so dearly in so much pain, knowing I cannot take it away. It would break me to see someone beg me with their eyes to end their suffering, and I just cannot do it. Do not get me wrong, if it comes to that, I am committed and will go above and beyond to make them as comfortable and happy as possible given the situation, but it would devastate me. Selfishly, I do not want to lose my fiancé because I do not want to live without him. I know that I will be okay and that I will be able to find love again, but I have dreamed of growing old together since we started dating, and having that cut short is unimaginable. Story 11. Psychological and emotional. Not being able to be there for the people I love or letting my family down. Real fear but more peripheral, burning to death. Silly or surface-level fear. Sharks. Story 12. Being shrunk to the size of an ant while on holiday and having to make my way back home. Monsieur, down here. Ici. Story 13. Dying in a group chat and nobody noticing. I stop replying, and they just assume I am ignoring again when in fact I have given up on life. Story 14. The infinite, endless, inevitable void that is death. Also thinking about how small and meaningless I am on a universal scale. These two go hand in hand. Every time I stop and register the scale of life, I start to panic until I force myself to stop. Story 15. Being in a plane crash is terrifying. Not just a normal plane crash, but when you are at 30,000 feet and something goes wrong with the hydraulics. The pilot has to try to steer the plane out of a spin, and you are at the mercy of the wind and gravity for half an hour while you slowly dive toward your death. That would be so terrifying. It is all I can think about every time I am in the air, even when we experience a little turbulence. Story 16. Being stuck working until retirement age, paying for material things you don't need, just to have a few good years left to enjoy life before your body gives up and you start to fade away. Story 17. I'm scared of my partner dying, but it is very specific. I am not afraid of us dying at older ages, say 70 and above, but any earlier than that would be too much for me. I am not even worried about us breaking up because at least I know they are alive and well and the relationship just ran its course. But the idea of losing my life partner young and never getting to experience half of what I should. Milestones, birthdays, Christmases, fights, holidays, inside jokes. I just cannot bear the thought of it. Story 18. Realizing that there might still be 30 years ahead of me, or maybe even more. I do not think I can do it, to be honest. Story 19. Having to choose between watching my children starve after a catastrophic event or taking the missed route. Story 20. My biggest realistic fear is being in a building collapse or another infrastructure failure caused by poor construction and underfunding. Apparently, there is plenty of money to send to Israel and Ukraine, but safe roads are neglected. Story 21. My mom and dad had 3 different types of dementia between them. My dad, brother, and I all have one of the associated Alzheimer's genes. My older sister is currently being evaluated, but we have all seen signs in her. My older brother is definitely showing signs. I am just waiting for myself to disappear in a fog of confusion. It is terrifying. Story 22. Ending up lost in things that do not matter, yet being under the full impression that they do. Failing to keep composure while trying to see what truly matters. Story 23. Realizing you have spent most of your life guiding other people toward their success and hardly your own. Story 24. My biggest fear is my house catching on fire. The thought of not being able to get my family and dogs out and then losing everything keeps me up at night, going over scenarios and plans to get everyone out, even if I perish doing so. A close second is going through another Hurricane Katrina-level storm. I never want to experience trying to salvage things after 9.5 feet of toxic water tossed my house around again. That smell is something I will never forget. Also, spiders. I really dislike spiders. Story 25. Trump gaining absolute unchecked power. He is already gearing up to enact martial law. He cannot wait to shoot American citizens. Story 26. To be cornered by mountain lions. It is one of those scenarios where it seems inevitable that you will be eaten. Story 27. Cesium-137 and cobalt-60. The effects of radiation. Cesium is a natural decay product in uranium and is one of the leading causes of radiation at Chernobyl and Fukushima. Cobalt is the element that is bombarded with neutrons and decays rapidly. Both have caused many deaths. Story 28. It would probably be watching my entire family die in a way in which I could not help them. Imagine a boating accident where I am the only one who manages to stay afloat the longest, or a house being ripped apart by a tornado while watching them fly away. Something like that. Story 29. Having my Reddit comments read aloud by artificial intelligence while Minecraft parkour plays in the background. Even worse if they make hundreds from it. Story 30. I've seen it, lived it too many times. People get sent to nursing homes and become forgotten, while some are losing their minds. This was my grandmother when I was 7 in 1973. It was hard. I don't want that to be me. My father took care of a lady who had been his client. Her church made promises they did not keep. Several members promised to move her belongings out of her apartment. My father and I did that. We took care of all her belongings. It got really bad when she no longer remembered my father. It's even harder when it's family. I hope I don't have to go through losing my mind. Peace. Onward. Story 31. Space. When I am really stressed, I have nightmares about traveling to space. Ironically, I also find space fascinating. Story 32, Ladybugs. I know it is irrational, but I really dislike them. There was one in my lettuce yesterday, dead. I screamed, threw the head across the room, and started crying. My boyfriend came and handled everything after that. Story 33, Top 2, Losing a husband or children. I don't think I could function. I have known people who have lost spouses and children, and the amount of pain seems unbearable. Failing health such as cancer, dementia, or something like locked-in syndrome, and having my family take care of me, I don't want to be a burden. The thought of not being able to do things for myself scares me greatly. Story 34, Spiders. People always tell me it's silly and that they will not hurt me, and I know that, but they still scare me. I do not like looking at them. I am scared enough of them that I cannot kill them with a tissue because I cannot get that close to them. I do not even like looking at crabs because of the way their legs are shaped. Too spider-like for me. Any other bug is fine. Spiders make me jumpy for hours. Story 35. Being involved in a minor road accident while heading home from a takeaway restaurant with the perfect dinner. I can handle major problems with no issue, but this would be a disaster. Story 36. All of the work that I have put in towards something may someday not be enough. I spend so much time, effort, and energy on something only to probably fail at it someday, and it is scary because not everyone can succeed in the same thing. Story 37. I have two fears. 1. An apocalyptic event, such as zombies, alien invasion, or an earth-ending meteor. Not because of the aliens or zombies themselves, but because of people. People would descend into uncontrollable, volatile chaos, and humanity is already problematic. When it comes to horror movies, I am generally calm and don't scare easily. However, movies like The Day After Tomorrow, War of the Worlds, and TV shows like The Last of Us cause me anxiety-induced nightmares for weeks due to their portrayal of society at the start of an apocalyptic event. Really bad things happening to my children, such as abduction, a terrible accident, or getting lost in the woods or at sea. I believe this fear is common among most parents. Story 38. Heights. Good luck getting me on top of a tall building with balconies or a roller coaster. I am surprisingly okay on airplanes, though. Story 39. Being buried alive or locked in a small space is frightening. But truthfully, losing a partner I am in love with is even more painful. Story 40. Being a decade away from retirement, laid off, and never being hired again. Absolutely the worst timing that will most likely mean I retire and end my life being poor instead of comfortable. Story 41. The fact that I have no fears, even in the presence of specific dangers like a polar bear or a burning ship, is something I have noticed. I believe it is a symptom of my autism spectrum disorder, and I really dislike it. Story 42. I guess dying too soon means not experiencing enough. There is a comment here that says living the same day over and over and calling it a life. I am out of that situation now, ready to see what life has to offer. But my past choices have made it so I might die soon. That is why I was in that bubble of not living, because I knew the inevitable was near. Now I finally want to live, and I am afraid of death. Story 43. That something bad happens to my children, for example, a serious accident, death, incurable illness, kidnapping, sexual assault, or other harmful events. I do not even want to think about it. Story 44. What cell phones are doing to people. I have watched people in the same room text. Parents are now buying phones for younger and younger children. Story 45. Dying alone with no one finding my body until it has decomposed. I have no family nearby to check on me and very few friends. I hate the thought that if something happens and no one discovers it for days or weeks, how will they see me? Story 46. Suddenly losing someone I love and having to live with pain, guilt, and regret because I treated them poorly or was not there for them the way I should have been, and not getting the chance to fix it before they passed. Story 47. Getting eaten alive, such as by a grizzly bear. I am much more likely to have a heart attack based on family history, and I am 2,000 miles away from any brown bear, but that is my fear. My mistake was coming across the audio of the grizzly man being eaten alive. Still haunts me. Story 48. Sometimes I am afraid of the dark because I think about shadows or bugs crawling on me, so I want to be able to see. That is why I sleep with a light on. But if someone was holding me like a man and told me I was safe, I would not be scared. I always have to be my own man and pretend I am not scared. It is hard. Men can be scared of the dark and spiders too. I should not assume. That just means I prefer a man who is not afraid of those things. That would make us compatible. My stepfather is not afraid of those things, but he says I should not be afraid of them, even though I am. If he were my biological father, and if I liked him, he would protect me. But I do not want his protection because I do not like him. I am not fond of him. That is why I need to protect myself or need a romantic partner who can fill that void. Story 49, War. I am a father, and the thought that my sons might be sent to a battlefield because the wealthy people in power could not resolve conflicts peacefully sickens me. Story 50. Getting stuck somewhere and dying slowly, like being trapped under rubble after an earthquake. Story 51. That the non-committal indecision and insensitivity of the women I express interest in will once again emotionally destroy me completely. Or rather, that I will once again choose a woman with the kind of characteristics likely to do that. Story 52. To continue living without someone to share my life with means that any future attempts at relationships will end just like every other, with my partner being unfaithful. Story 53. Being forgotten. I am slowly being erased from the life I used to live, and the people around me are allowing it to continue. I am no longer able to be on my own due to disability, and I have no one. It seems like I have already been forgotten. I am not sure what the point is, I guess. Story 54. I have two fears. Sharks and cutting my nails. The feel of the metal clippers going under my nails makes me very anxious. The sound of the clippers, everything about it scares me a lot. Story 55. Probably developing dementia. My mother had it. It was horrible. It took 11 years for her to pass away. I told my wife if I am diagnosed, I will end my life. I will not put her or the children through that. Story 56. My life is already difficult, and many of the fears I had have come true. I have been raped, tortured, highly injured, experienced memory loss, and suffer from a sickness that is painfully and slowly killing me. My biggest fear is not being able to make friends who genuinely like me. When I do make friends, I hope to overcome this sickness and live with them, even if only for a few days. Story 57. Disappointing my family, losing the people I love while being on bad terms, and not being able to be there for someone when they need it the most. Story 58. My biggest fear just happened when my father died. I do not know what to fear beyond that. I feel like my mind is a void inside. I feel empty now. People are actually lucky to feel fear at times. Story 59. It was losing my parents 6 weeks apart. Now it is losing my pets. The one not related to emotional pain, huge waves in the ocean when I am in it. Story 60. Not quite dying and needing care because I cannot do anything at all. Please just smother me. Story 61. Living forever, unable to die. I am not very good at life and it does not make me happy. Living forever and watching all my loved ones die sounds like torture. Also time loops. I had it once on marijuana, which is super weird and I still do not understand it, and once on lysergic acid diethylamide. I knew I was stuck and did not know how to stop it. I was terrified both times. I guess I am not as afraid of them as I used to be, but I do not really need or want to be stuck like this again. Story 62. Going nonverbal again. Did it for 12 years straight. Don't want to do it again. It's a totally irrational fear because that's not how cerebral palsy works. Story 63. The only fear I have is my family getting harmed. Other than that, I do not fear anything else. Since I do not fear death, there is nothing to be afraid of in this life. Story 64. Losing my husband. I am pretty sure I will pass soon after him because we are soulmates. All I can hope for is that we both live to old age. I do not want to be a widow for decades. Story 65. Having to give a speech in front of a large group of people all looking at you expectantly. Honestly, I would choose fighting a bear over that, not that I would win. Story 66. Only my wife knows my biggest fear. I don't go around broadcasting it because I never want it used against me in any way. Story 67. Having someone watch me actively dying is unsettling. I have seen it many times and am very familiar with how unnerving it is. Story 68. Dying alone. Not just physically, but the realization that literally no one is going to care. Story 69. Recently, it has been the loss of my parents. In my eyes, they are still in their 60s due to their health and activity level, but in reality, they are nearly 80. Story 70. Living well past retirement age in poor health without care or retirement and living on the street. The American dream. I am 40, just now able to start saving for a 401k plan, and have a couple of major medical diagnoses. The future looks bleak. Story 71. Dying and leaving my 1.5-year-old daughter behind. Or maybe my daughter dying. Oh my God. I am crying already. Story 72. Something horrible is happening to my children. I am strong, but I do not think I could survive that. Story 73. I'm so claustrophobic. I cannot even walk past a closet without checking for escape routes. If they ever close the doors on me in an elevator, I will be launching myself through the ceiling like I am trying to break out of Alcatraz. Story 74. Getting stuck upside down in a small hole or pipe with water slowly rising and drowning me. My arms pinned. Very weird and specific, but that for some reason sticks with me. Story 75. Flying is my only fear. I realize it is safer than driving, but if you crash once, it is pretty much over. It is a terrible way to die. Story 76. Getting cancer and thinking it is the end, but then I receive an experimental cure that saves me and also turns me into a werewolf. Story 77. Having my baby and then being hospitalized shortly after they were born due to lack of sleep. Missing the first few weeks of their life. Losing my husband before we are old and gray. Story 78. Accidentally having a child. I will be sterile very soon. I do not ever want to be trapped in that situation. It would immediately end everything I have built for myself. Story 79. It's just the thought that as I get older, so do my loved ones, or that one day she will not be here anymore. Story 80. I have been chasing this question for a long time and I always calm myself by thinking it would not be bugs and spiders, but yes, it is. I could cope with the death of a loved one or fighting hell's entire army easier than I could with exposure to a huge spider. Story 81. I will eventually not have the energy or willpower to take care of myself and slowly succumb to a preventable disease. Diabetes was my absolute biggest fear. My mom used to think that telling me I would die by the time I was 40 would motivate me to improve my habits, eat less, and go to the gym. All it did was make me terrified of literally wasting away because I was lazy or couldn't control what I put in my mouth. I am active but still overweight and very self-aware. Story 82. One day, I will be gone and will not be able to watch over my children anymore. We do the best we can to make sure they will be okay without us. And we are supposed to take comfort in knowing that they will. I am not afraid of being gone, that happens to us all. I am afraid of not being there for them anymore. Story 83. Tell my younger sister about mother's death. A month has passed since she died due to an accident. Now I am just talking about the fact that she left for work in Europe, as she often had such trips. It seems to me that I am a bad sister. I have meant to tell her about it 7 times but could not find the words. Story 84. I am terrified of dying. I think about it a lot. How much it will hurt, how it will happen, and whether I will be alone. Story 85. One recurring fear I have is being left stranded somewhere with no way home. I have several other personal fears as well. Currently, my biggest concern is my uncertain future. Story 86. Losing my little child to cancer. For years of chemotherapy and 14 surgeries later, he is still hanging in there. Lord, please let all the pain he has had to endure be worth it. Please. Story 87. Right now, I am getting laid off. Any disruption to the life I am trying to build with my partner is frightening. The thought of losing our house and our quality of life terrifies me. Story 88. Dying before my parents and grandparents. I have already seen what that does and do not want it to happen again to me. Story 89. A rogue planet entering our solar system would cause Earth and other planets to lose their orbits around the Sun, sending them into space. Earth would freeze to approximately minus 220 degrees Celsius. Story 90. I lost my best friend and faithful companion, my beloved dog, suddenly. I am afraid that I will lose others who love me just as suddenly. Story 91. Brain rot, either dementia or Alzheimer's. I have been intelligent my whole life, and watching my grandparents all turn into hollowed-out husks terrifies me. Story 92. Somewhere between dying horribly in a Final Destination-type accident or dying without ever finding my true purpose in life. Story 93. It used to be losing my wife. She was unfaithful, left, and now we are divorced. Now it is probably losing my job. Being unemployed is very difficult, especially in this job market. Story 94. Losing my job at this stage of my life and being unemployable. I am 56 years old and have 3 young children at home. I have nightmares about this at least once a week. Story 95. The Flying Monkeys from The Wizard of Oz. Seriously, I'm a super solid Generation X male and those creatures give me nightmares. The creeper from Jeepers Creepers disturbed me as well. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.